I just want you to give some tips and some advice to young entrepreneurs that are trying to pursue owning their own boutique, and giving back to their community, like how you've given locals an opportunity to sell their products in your store. You've given locals opportunity to have events in your store. You have given locals opportunity to just flourish and have an opportunity to have their own business in your store. Like you have suites, you have retail, you have events. So you have made your space not only from a boutique, but you've made your space into a studio retail.
Collective retail space. Yeah.
And I think that's amazing. And there's not a lot of that out here.
Yeah.
And I think that's different and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you.
And inspiring people.
Thank you. So if I were to say anything to everyone.
Into that camera right there.
That one right there?
Yes. What's up, everybody? I am your host, Sommer Nicole, and I am so excited to welcome you, someone that's so special to me. She's so amazing. She's an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. And I mean, this is for all the boutique owners and aspiring boutique owners. Like, I mean, this lady right here has been doing it for so long and has amazing track record. Y'all, let me welcome you, Honey. Look, she look like Beyonce to me, y'all. I know a lot of people say that too to her. Do people tell you that?
It's been a while, but they used to.
I always thought she was just so beautiful, and she just looked like Beyonce to me. That's just, I love me some Beyonce. So, but anyways, thank you so much, Honey, for being on our show.
Thank you, Summer, for having me. I love me some you.
I love you too. Yes. Honey has known me since I was yay high. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, Honey, I've been inspired by you for so long. You have really touched the industry in a way that, it's a lot of people that look up to you, for one, because you started at a discount mall. I remember. And, I'll let you go into that, but I have followed you from the time you first started.
Yeah.
You had that vision.
Right.
To now. I mean, you doing big things.
Yeah, thank you.
And so we don't get into all of that because people need to know your story. A lot of people look up to you. A lot of people see you on social media doing your thing. I mean, you are a great marketing person. Like, you love to brand yourself and you love to just stay relevant and keep things going. And I think, we all go through struggles, but you're one person that I know that have been through it all and actually overcame a lot of those struggles. So can you let's talk about let's go back to, when you first started.
Okay.
Like, are you from Atlanta?
I actually am. I am from Atlanta. I was born at Grady Hospital.
Okay.
I am a Southwest Atlanta original native. I grew up partially in New Jersey as well.
Okay.
So I don't want to leave my New Jersey folks out.
Yes.
They'd be like, what about New Jersey? What about New Jersey? But no, I claim Atlanta first because this is where I'm from. This is where my family is from. Everybody is rooted in Georgia, and I was born in Atlanta. So I'm an Atlanta native.
What school did you go to? What high school?
So tricky. I did 9th grade at Forest Park High.
Okay.
I moved around a lot. My mom had me at 16, so I moved around a lot.
Oh, okay.
And then from 10th and on, I was in New Jersey with my grandparents in Hillside, New Jersey.
Oh, okay. So when did you move back to Atlanta?
Immediately after high school.
Okay.
I had a scholarship in New Jersey
Okay.
to go to William Patterson University for mass communications.
Okay.
And I just didn't want to go to college because I just didn't want more rules. My grandparents were super strict. Yeah, they were super strict. You didn't go to college either?
I didn't.
Yeah, I just passed it up and I was like, I got accepted to Clark Atlanta. I got accepted to Spelman. I got accepted to Georgia State, as backups. But I just came to Atlanta and was like, no, I don't want to go to college.
Yeah.
And instead I went and interned at Hot 107? Hot 107 at the time. In my field, that was great. They started paying me. A lot of interns didn't get paid, but it still wasn't enough. And then I embarked on entrepreneurship. So immediately.
Yes.
Because
you were trying to find your way.
I was trying to find my own way without rules, without, restrictions. I just wanted my own way again, from moving a lot. Like I just wanted to provide my own lifestyle, one that was safe, stable, and secure.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that. So, okay, so you moved here from New Jersey, and you got it. You were able to move around.
Yeah.
Got 107.9. But when did you decide? You know what? Let me open up a boutique.
Yeah. Yeah. So what happened was my grandmother I grew up off of Campbellton Road in Atlanta, and some apartments over there. And there was this guy that used to sell things on the corner. My grandma used to buy clothes from him all the time. And I knew that I wanted to like sell clothes. And so I just went to him one day and was like, hey, where can I get clothing? Like there was no Instagram, no nothing at this time. And he remembered me as a child. And he was just like, let me take you to some places in Atlanta that I grabbed things from. I went there with him, saw some things I liked. I had some money saved up from like waitressing and whatnot. I grabbed some things and then I started hustling like out of my trunk to salons, to barbershops. That's kind of actually how I bumped into Tracy's salon, which is where I originally met you in College Park, Georgia, because my grandma right off of Old National Highway had a condo off of Old National. Oh my goodness. Like you gotta be from Atlanta and like you gotta give it up to Old National.
Yes.
So that's kind of honestly how it started. Of course, I started to, clean it up and streamline it, but that is like the roots of it all. Yes. And I just give thanks to that man.
Yes, for sure. And we all have to start somewhere. And we gain vision from just seeing things, and like learning from different people and having mentors. Did you have any mentors within your journey of starting your business?
I didn't have any mentors per se. But I had people that inspired me.
Yes.
And they might not have even known that they inspired me, but I had people that opened their doors up. When you don't have a business license and you're selling things out of your trunk, technically you're soliciting, right? So I had people who own businesses that opened their doors up and allowed me to come into their business and sell things to their clientele that were placed in there, such as the nail salons, such as the hair salons. So those were people that inspired me because they already had businesses. I knew a guy particularly in the Old National Discount Mall that had a store in there. And I asked him, I was like, Valentine's Day is coming up. I want to make some Valentine's Day baskets, I was like, can I pay you a fee and sell some things like on the weekends, here? He charged me a fee. I don't even remember what it was, but it was probably nothing. And I like curated some baskets, like Valentine's Day baskets.
Did they sell?
They sold out. I even left them with him at the times that I wasn't able to be there because I was waitressing during the day. And he was just selling them for me while I wasn't there. So I walked in some money at the times that I came. Yeah, so that was inspiration.
Wow, so that was your opportunity to go ahead and open up your small boutique store inside the discount mall.
I saw that there was a need for me there in some fashion. And I said, I came to him too, out of loyalty and said, I want to get a store in here because I see they like what I do, but I want to do more things besides baskets. I want to sell clothing. I got some other things I want to do. I want to sell watches. I want to sell sunglasses, cool things that were trendy at that time. Yes. And I inquired about a space and the landlords in there granted me the opportunity. I got a space, started off in a 10 by 10 square foot space for a few years or less. And then I saw that I quickly outgrew that space. And then I asked to expand to a neighbor that was next to me that was moving out. And I wanted to take over their space. And this is where the whole ask later for permission, take and ask for permission later, because I felt like at the time they would have told me no. So I made a deal with the person who was moving out, paid them some money to take over their space. I had a contractor come in, knock the wall out. I took the space and was like, hey, well, I took this space already. Like, I'm already here. Because what if they told me no?
Yes.
Summer, seriously, what if they told me no? I wouldn't have had the opportunity to expand. They would have given it.
Sometimes you have to take what you want.
Sometimes, right? I'm not saying it's the right thing.
It's not the right thing, but
I did what was best for me at the opportunity and the time. Yeah. Took the space. Then I expanded to a 10 by 20. Closed the walls in, and now I had an actual store. I put French doors, windows, a ceiling.
You had a nice little setup.
I tried. I tried.
And let them know year this was. You got to let them know because you go way back. You know, you've been doing this for some time. So let's not take away from the years that you put in.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, we're in 2023 now. This was definitely 18 years ago.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
you've been doing this for a minute.
Everybody can do the math.
So you got to give we got to give you your flowers.
Thank you.
You deserve that.
Thank you.
Because you've been doing it and you're still in business.
Still in business. So grateful, so thankful. First and foremost, you know, I thank God, you know, for just believing in myself and then just having the courage to do so. My family was, you know, not super supportive. They come from the background of like,
go to college,
get a job, get you a 401k, you know, so on and so forth. But I'm like, no, it just feels right. Something just feels right. I've always been pretty liberal, you know, and I'm like, no, I just want to do this, you know, and it just was a hit from day one, but I knew it was going to be a hit from my trunk. You know, I just knew it was going to be a hit because the jobs that I was working at the time, I would make XYZ for 8 hours, but I could make that in less than an hour.
Yes.
So I knew entrepreneurship was the way to go. And I'm just thankful to still be here 18 years later doing what I do.
And I know as an entrepreneur, you have your struggles. So can you tell us some of the struggles that you went through, you know, from transitioning from the discount mall to you actually having a store at by the gas station? I remember that too. You had a store near, like next door to the gas station and it was your store. You actually had a store, a storefront.
Yeah.
So kind of tell us how, you know, what was the transition? What made you leave there and go there? And was it a struggle? Tell us a little bit about that.
I felt like I outgrew the space that was in the discount mall because now we're looking at a 10 by 20. And then I offered so many different things, but I wanted to offer more. Things that were doing great, but I wanted to offer more. And I wanted to be taken seriously. Not to say that you're not taken seriously in a discount mall, but I wanted a physical address that was mine. You know, I wanted something where customers felt, you know, exclusive, where they felt, you know, VIP, where they could just pull up and go directly to the store and not have to look at other gates and things like that. I knew originally that I wanted a exclusive, luxurious experience for folks. And so I sought after a storefront. I got a storefront. I think it was about 1,200 square feet at the time. It was already beautiful.
It was
already beautiful. But the crazy thing is, and there's a backstory, so you're the first person to actually hear this information. There was a young lady that had a boutique there prior to me, and her boutique had a sign on it that said for sale. And so I reached out to her, called that number, and I bought her business from her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I actually have never talked about that before. So you're triggering some memories for me.
Wow.
But I purchased her business from her. Honestly, I believe I might have, we're not even going to talk numbers, but I bought her business and it came with the renovations that she put to the space. So that saved me money from renovating the space from maybe something that just looked like a popcorn ceiling or, you know, your standard like insert ceiling with regular old floors. She had columns in there. She had chandeliers in there. She had marble floor designs that were already in there. And that also included the inventory that was in the store that was left. She literally walked away with everything in there. She walked away with some furniture pieces in there too. And honestly, so I paid her the money for the store and the merchandise and the renovation. I factored all of this into my purchase price. And I sold a lot of those countertops and things that I didn't want because it didn't match my aesthetic. I sold those things and bought things that did match my aesthetic. And I sold her inventory in addition to the inventory I added. So I got my money back plus some.
Let me tell y'all,
it was
this is boss moves, okay? This is boss moves. Like that is amazing. And you were young too.
Yes.
You were really young, like doing all of these things.
I was 21.
You were young, 21. Yeah. Buying her own storefront, y'all. 21. Buying her own storefront and buying someone else's business. Do y'all hear this? Buying someone else's business and making it her business and making it her aesthetic and whatever she likes. And now she's successful. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, not crazy, but that's amazing.
It feels really good to say it back because, like I said, I actually haven't said it back in ever.
We live in the moment and we never sit back and say, you know what? I've accomplished all these things because a lot of times I don't do that. You know, I've accomplished a lot.
So much.
But I do not sit back and like analyze or even just like think about it like, wow, I've accomplished all these things, because everybody else can tell us.
Yep.
But we don't actually do it ourselves.
Yep.
And so sometimes we have to sit back and really give ourselves our own flowers.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because we've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yes.
Likewise.
So after you did that, what made you decide, did you outgrow that space too and decided to go to Little 5 Points? How did that, like, tell us a little bit more about that.
So that space was, actually I had that space, plus I had the Old National Discount Mall space. I was running them both simultaneously at the same time.
I remember that. Okay.
I had a best friend at the time, and I say at the time because no longer, unfortunately, but we'll get into that. And cause that's a life lesson, but had those stores running simultaneously, and I just was still on a quest for just conquering. There was a demand, everything was running itself, everything was successful, each location. I said, there's more opportunities. My goal was to always be in Little 5 Points at the time. At the time, we had some OG stores out there. We had Cherry Bomb, we had
yes.
and these were like boutique legends,
yes.
you know, at least for me,
No,
you know,
they were
all Atlanta people that were around at that time. Like those were legendary storefronts.
Little
you know,
5 Points was popping.
And so again, this is before the Instagram era.
Yes.
So I'm like, I want to be in Little 5 Points.
Yes.
That's where people go to shop. That's where people go to eat. That's where they go to do X, Y, Z. So I just used to drive by there all the time and just look for
a store over here.
Look for vacant spaces. One day a for lease sign popped up. The space was so huge to me at the time. I didn't even know how huge it was, but it was so huge.
Yes.
Right. I called the number and reached out to the guy. Told him I already had 2 existing stores and I wanted that space. He was so generous at the time. We met for lunch, it was lunch. We met for lunch. He covered the lunch. We talked about a business plan, what I wanted to do. He came and visited my other locations and the space was mine. He asked me what was my vision for it. I told him. He said, this space is larger than your other spaces. How are you going to make this happen? I shared with him how I was going to make it happen. And he entrusted me. And for 13 years, 13 years? Yeah, 13 years.
You was over there for 13 years?
I was there for 13 years.
You were there for a long time.
Yeah, for 13 years. I had a great relationship with him for 13 years.
Wow. That's a story. And you know, what makes you so unique though, is that you have unique pieces. You know, you don't have just pieces that you could just get, you know, whatever. I don't know how you did it. And I want to know, how were you able to get a lot of those trendy pieces? Like you had trendy purses, you had trendy outfits that no one's seen ever anywhere else. Like there were like statement pieces.
Yeah.
You know, and so can you tell us a little bit more how you were able to find the manufacturers and people that you connected with to get those trendy pieces, you know, during that time?
Yeah. So I knew at that time that LA was a huge fashion market. New York was as well, but something about LA just intrigued me. And so I just, purchased a flight, purchased the hotels, and
you went out on your own?
I went out on my own, rented cars. It's so crazy. You're really taking me down memory lane right now, Summer, like truly. I rented cars and got hotel discounts from people that I no longer work with because, again, I told you I started off in the restaurant industry. So I still have friends that were in the restaurant industry. So I would be like, hey, I used to work at the Westin. I'm like, can I get the employee discount? I'm going to LA. There was Westins in LA, $69 a night, to stay at a Westin in LA compared to maybe $399 plus for others. So I took advantage of those discounts through, employees that were my friends, colleagues, former colleagues, rented cars, which I really didn't even know how to rent cars, but it's so crazy that I rented cars then, booked my flights. And I just went to the fashion districts that were in LA and stumbled upon hundreds of fashion retailers. I had a business license, of course, because I was operating business. And I went to these businesses and established new relationships with businesses and told them, hey, I have a store in Atlanta. I want to order this. That's when I learned how to buy in bulk. That's when I learned how to negotiate prices. That's when I learned that things are less expensive in person than they are online, that there's an inflation price with online. I eventually learned to fly Southwest because Southwest at the time gave you luggage for free, like if you travel back. So I would even put some things in my luggage for free and bring them back, put them on the shelves right away, make my money while the other things was still being processed and being shipped to Atlanta for me to put on the shelves. It was a really fun experience. And I did this for like 2 days.
Honestly, just hearing all of that, you never had any mentors to teach you the things that you know, like that you knew then, like, you know, from the people to go to in LA and how to research those manufacturers or those businesses that you were able to buy bulks of, you know, trendy items from. Like you didn't have anyone to walk you through the process.
No, I'm a great listener though. I do recall in passing, maybe I don't remember who specifically, but I remember in operating my store in the Old National Discount Mall, someone said, "Did you ever try this site or this site?" And I said, "No," but I wrote it down. And then I looked up the site and then I registered, you know, for wholesaler merchandise. And then I really just did the rest on my own. Like, you can tell me one thing, my ears are always open. I'm listening. You don't have to walk me through anything. I'm going to do all of the research. I just need to listen. So always be attentive. Always listen to what people are saying. People drop gems and people drop facts all the time. You just have to listen, apply. It's not their job to give you the walkthrough. It's beautiful if they do. It's super beautiful, right? But that's not how life works all the time. I listen and I apply. I just do the work.
She just dropped some gems, y'all. Pay attention. Pay attention.
Pay attention.
Yes.
You better pay attention.
I mean, I'm just blown away because I mean, I know you, but I didn't know a lot of this. And I'm so happy to know your story because this is like deep, you know, and I know it's very touching to hear it because you're like, dang, I really went through all of this. But you know, it's amazing to see to hear your success story. So, okay, so let's take it back. So you did the boutique at this gas station. And then you transitioned over to the Pink Zebra. So you had 3 stores running at one time.
I actually had a couple more in the process of that too. I did open up a couple more discount stores in underground Atlanta. What's that called? So I was in Little Five, but there's like underground Little Five. What's that called again? Little Five. No, I'm in Little 5 Points, and then there's
underground.
Yeah, but it's called like Little.
Oh, 5 Points.
Yeah, it's called 5 Points.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had a couple stores in 5 Points as well at the same time. I had one downstairs because it's 2 stores. I had one downstairs.
The mall, the 5 Points mall. Oh, wow.
I had one down there. First, I started with one upstairs that I hired a girl that I met in the Old National Discount Mall. I was like, let's just go down here and try, you know, because the flea markets were just racking up and doing their things at the time. I said, let's go over here and try. That was cool. It was slower than Old National. Old National is the ish and still is to this day when it comes to like flea markets. And so I was there. And then my little sister at the time, I actually wanted her to embark in entrepreneurship, you know? And so I looked into having her to open a store in the downstairs area of 5 Points. And so open another store, was just trying to test that out to see how it worked for business and how it worked for her, if she was interested in doing entrepreneurship or not. So it was actually like 5 at the time.
Okay. So how were you able to manage 5 locations at one time? Did you have a lot of associates working for you? And you had to do the training? Were you able to manage all 5 stores?
Yeah, I just worked with everyone one-on-one. I had someone for each store, and then I came in sometimes, but I was just mostly responsible for doing the buying, responsible for doing the setup, responsible for doing the marketing, you know. We worked well together.
So now that we know back then social media wasn't relevant at the time, or even we didn't even know any. We may have MySpace and Facebook,
MySpace.
But how did you? So you market on those platforms, or how are you able to drive traffic to your stores?
I actually did the flyer network system. I would get flyers.
What they call it, guerrilla marketing?
That is what it's called. Yeah. I passed flyers out. I put them on cars. I handed them out to people at spaces. Again, remember I started in my trunk. So I would go to the salon still. Now maybe I was just a customer there versus a solicitor because I had the store, but I'm passing out flyers as I'm getting the service done. Anywhere I went, I'm passing out flyers. Then I did actually pay some street teams as well because they had like CDs. Remember CDs with like being passed out and sold and stuff. So I would just actually pay them, the CD sellers, to pass out some of my flyers as well. I even went as far as to get some business inserts put inside flyers. So you know how the front would be like the music, like the cover art, then the inside would be the name of the salon. Then there would be like another space in the back where I would like put my business in the back, like pay them to put them into the CDs. And so I mean, it was just a lot of ways, but it definitely was like hand to hand. Like it was hand to hand.
Yes. So you were going out there doing that, or you had your street team?
All of the above.
Wow.
But me doing it was fun. Like it's your
business.
It was literally fun at the time. I'm meeting people, they're pulling up. People, this is at a time where I would be wearing stuff, which is still current, but I would be wearing stuff from the boutique and people would be like, oh my God, you sell that? Can I buy them earrings? Like people would be buying earrings out of my ear, buying not shirts off my back, but like literally buying any accessories like that I wore. And I've sold a few things off my body. Like it was fun.
Yes.
It was fun.
So tell us how you so you got the little 5 points. Did you close all your stores down and just only focus on little 5 points location?
There was a point where that ended up being the case. So I closed down the Old National Discount Mall first because I had all the other stores going at the time and I just felt like
overwhelmed.
I actually wasn't overwhelmed. I felt like I was transitioning and I wanted to be intentional about the transition. And I just felt like flea market was behind me, not above me or beneath me, but just behind me. And so I closed it down, which if I had to say to this day, I would have kept it the whole time. Like if anybody, keep all your streams of income if everything is doing well. But at that time, I felt like I've transitioned into storefronts, you know, and so versus like a flea market experience. So I closed it down at that time. And then
what year was that?
I don't know.
Okay.
But let's say 7 years in.
Okay.
Let's just say about 7 years in. So then when it came to the Old National storefront, that store was still doing well as well, but I had some neighbors that moved in that were, you know, a little rowdy, you know, still College Park. And they started having like shootouts and everything. And honestly, it felt dangerous. Like there were a couple shootouts where even my doors got penetrated from bullets, you know, and I had to like get my doors replaced. And I had my employee call me one day to say, hey, there was just a shootout, you know, that took place and me and the customer ran to the back. I'm like, it's feeling scary at this point.
Yeah, and then that's a liability on your business.
Yeah, it's a liability. And then my little 5 Point store was doing so well, you know, that I just felt like I could live off of this income. You know what I mean? I could just like let that go. This is behind me now. So it was just easy to do that. The stores in 5 Points Underground, they weren't really doing numbers as I just, you know, said a couple of seconds ago, but like they weren't doing the numbers that made it just worth it. So I just closed everything out and said, I can put all my energy into this great location and make it do what it do. Instead of like spreading myself all over the place, I'm gonna put everything that I'm spreading out into these other locations into this location and make it just do what it do. And that's what I did.
That's awesome. And another thing too, I mean, you've had a lot of amazing celebrities and socialite people. A lot of people have supported you over the years. And I think that, you know, you are like a hidden gem a little bit too. Like you're on the scene and people know you, but you are like a hidden gem that a lot of people need to know more about, you know? And I think that you're so amazing and so talented at what you do. And I want to know a little bit more about, you know, what happened to Little 5 Points? Why did you leave that location and move to another location?
The Little 5 Points location, again, I was there for 13 years, doing super well. The pandemic happened in 2020. I got PPP money and, you know, in addition to like other funds and things that I had going on. And I renovated the space. Totally changed the concept of me just doing all of the buying and whatnot. And made it a collective
and you
retail.
gave other people opportunities. Local. I love it.
Yep. I actually always worked like low key here and there with like other brands, but this time I made it more intentional because I knew that due to the pandemic, there weren't markets that were open. We weren't doing festivals, things where people would normally do pop-up shops and sell their items if they did not have a storefront. So I basically wanted to curate a space that was able to, you know, take care of all of those individuals. So I renovated the space and did that. And then 2 years later, my landlord told me that my lease was up and that he wasn't interested in renewing the lease.
Same happened to me.
Same happened to you.
Yes. Recently.
Crazy. See, I don't even know that information. Crazy, right?
A lot of people don't know, but yes, I did close down KissWorks Studios last month, actually, in July. 2 months ago, in July.
2 months ago.
The 30th of July was my last day in my space, and I did 5 years in that space. Had to close my doors because my landlord did not want to renew after they told me I could renew. They had someone say that they had the first right of refusal over my space. And that's what I tell people too, is like, you know, a lot of times when you leasing a lot of commercial spaces, you have a lot, sometimes you do, most times you don't have control over your space. They could take your space at any given moment. They could tell you to get out. They could, you know, after your lease is over with, they could say, I don't want to renew. And then what do you do from there? Sometimes the people are stuck and don't have another place to go because now you have inconvenienced our businesses and now we don't know what to do. And so at this point, I'm like, let's buy, you know, we're in the position, let's buy commercial, because at the end of the day, we worked so hard over all these years. You've been in that space for 13 years. I've been in my space, that particular space, for 5 years. And we work and put in a lot of investment into that space to be able, and now we can't.
And trust.
We've upgraded those spaces and we can't even utilize those spaces anymore. So now we have to go on and invest into another space. And then hoping that, you know, we can stay as long as we can in that space, because we build and build and build. And now it's like, okay, what do we do next? So I do appreciate you for sharing that, you know.
These are our experiences, but now let's take our experiences and educate others. So what we could have done differently is, you only know better after you've done it.
Exactly.
Right? So now let's talk about what we could have done. So when I renovated that space, even before I did the renovation, I could have negotiated my lease as it was still current.
Yes.
With the landlord and say, hey, I'm going to be doing these renovations, right? And I want to amend my lease, the current lease that we have in space in place that is up in a couple of years. 2 years. I want to amend that before I move forward with these renovations. Boom. It's simple. You just amend. You change things. You both get on agreements. Because of 13 years, I just entrusted that his word was his bond, because nothing else had been a problem prior to. However, just being a smart person, a smart business woman, man, and a person whose money is invested. Now let's just get back to business. Forget personal relationships. Now let's just get back to this. Even if sometimes your landlord maybe has like gone off the cusp of business and just, you know, did a friend situation with you, because like during the pandemic, he skipped a few months with me during the pandemic, as far as rent, while I was closed down originally. And I thought, wow, that's really like nice of him. You know, I really appreciate this landlord. Only for 2 years later for this to happen. This was during the time that I was doing the renovations. Anyway, keep it business. You know, always keep it business. Always keep a track record. We could have amended.
Keep your receipts.
Keep your receipts, but make sure it's all in writing.
Yes.
I could have amended that lease. I could have had him renew it, add some more years on, because I would have known and been aware that the lease was up, you know? So when it did become up, after the fact, I tried to negotiate. He told me pretty much that someone was willing to pay him more. I offered him to match that.
Yeah.
His only explanation was, we just want to go in a different direction.
Yes.
We just want to go in a different direction. And the direction currently is a film studio lab. You know, like I I was so prideful in my location. I was so prideful in the space that I had created for others,
Yes,
opportunities that I created for others. But it's neither here nor there. So now that's where faith kicks in, and I just trust the process. God always upgrades me. God always elevates me. And so that's where we are. But let's do our due diligence from our mistakes or, uneducatedness, and tell people it's okay. You can amend those leases before you do anything.
And that's what I was doing. But at the end of the day, they said I can renew. And then they went back on their word. And a lot of times that happens.
Was it written or was it verbal?
It was written.
It was written.
It was written. And someone else that moved in right before the end of my lease, they have the first right of refusal. How is that possible?
I've heard about that, but I'm not super familiar.
We can't dwell on that because at the end of the day, that space is not for me anymore.
Yeah.
It's time to move on.
Yeah.
It's time to move forward. And God has other.
You got your money up out of it. What you put in there.
Of course.
We're gonna always get our money up out of it. Okay, long as you didn't walk away.
No. But we always have to focus on the future. A lot of times things happen for a reason, and we have to move forward, and we have to make sure that our next chapter is our best chapter.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
God pivots us real well. They say, like, if you have a plan, God laughs at it, right? So you just have to do your work, show up, like even today, like I was running late, right? And I'm like, no, I'm not canceling. I don't want to reschedule. Like, you have this set up. I'm running late, which I apologize for, but I am coming. I committed. I'm coming, and we got to do this. And I respect what you have going on.
Thank you.
I respect your professionalism.
Thank you.
Respect the fact that you have a team and a staff. You have to show up. Just do your part. And your part, for the most time, is simply showing up. You have to do the work. Just show up and you'll figure out the rest.
Yes.
So,
and I appreciate you for being here.
I appreciate you for having me.
You are someone that I wanted to talk to, and I wanted to sit on normally we have a couch, but today we have chairs.
I like the chair.
So, yes. My guy Lee over here, he's amazing, y'all, and Ethan, and Keisha, like we have a team, and everybody has been amazing and making this show a success. And I just want to say thank you, honey.
Thank you.
And I just want you to give some tips and some advice to young entrepreneurs that are trying to pursue owning their own boutique, and giving back to their community, like how you've given locals an opportunity to sell their products in your store. You've given locals opportunity to have events in your store. You have given locals opportunity to just flourish and have an opportunity to have their own business in your store. You have suites, you have retail, you have events. So you have made your space not only from a boutique, but you've made your space into a studio retail.
Collective retail space. Yeah.
And I think that's amazing. And there's not a lot of that out here.
Yeah.
And I think that's different and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you.
And inspiring people.
Thank you. So if I were to say anything to everyone.
Into that camera right there.
That one right there?
Yes.
All right. If I were to say anything to anyone, it would say work smart, not hard. It's an old cliche saying, but it will never go out of style. It will always stand the test of time. Work smart and not hard. And by that, it's collaborating, working with others. Let me just give you an example outside of myself. Basketball teams, football teams. Do you know how many owners own different teams? There's not one specific owner to a basketball team. There's not one specific owner to a football team, at least to my knowledge. If there is, kudos to that person, okay? But from what I know, there's multiple owners of that team. Those people work together. Some people have small percentages, 9%. Some people have larger percentages, but they're all making money because if everyone involved is doing what they need to do, everyone wins. And it's less on your plate. Coming together and doing things and working collectively is less on your plate, which makes you work smarter and not harder. So it's okay to have multiple businesses. It's okay to have multiple investments. It's okay to be stretched out in different things where you are a small percentage owner because you're going to net larger than what you've invested. So Don't be afraid. You do not have to do it all on your own. If you're doing it on your own, you're not playing the game smart. Work together, work collectively. Example again, in my space, I'm a retail collective space. I house over 20 independent brands. All of us have ownership in the retail. I'm sorry, I'm the primary owner, but all of us have different parts of ownership within that space, which means less on everybody's plate, but we're all established in a storefront. We're working smart. Nowhere else can you just go and get a storefront for a fraction of the price that you pay, what you pay to be in my store. I have a store that houses all of these brands, from clothing, from products such as skincare, wellness, jewelry, art, events, photography. All of these are under one roof where everyone contributes their portion and we collectively make it happen. So work smart, not hard. Okay.
Come on now. Come on.
Okay. Okay.
So let everyone know where they can find your boutique, and also let everyone know, where they can find you on social media.
You guys can find me in right here in Atlanta. As of 4 months, I've been on historic Peter Street. That is walking distance from Mercedes-Benz District. It's a super prime development area, 177 Peters Street, next to the Old Lady Gang restaurant. I'm located in Suite C, Atlanta, Georgia, 30313. If you want to research us on social, follow us because we have amazing things going on. You can follow my personal Instagram at ATL_honey. My business page is in my bio, and that business page is at Shop the Pink Zebra Boutique. You can also find that on Facebook. You can find that on Threads, which I love. I love Threads. It's a great mental dump.
Threads too.
Oh my God, it's such a great mental dump.
I'm sorry.
I didn't do Twitter, but I love me some Threads. I'm mature enough now to not be afraid about what like I might post. I'm not doing no Twitter fingers. I'm literally like, I love it. So you can find us on all social handles at the same thing, Shop the Pink Zebra, all personal, ATL_honey on all platforms. Yeah.
Well, thank you, honey, for being on my show today.
Thank you. Yes.
And I promise you, this is like I tell everyone, this is a podcast that can, just inspire a lot of, entrepreneurs and people in different various of industries, where they can learn from people that have been doing it, and that have been in the industry for a very long time, that could just drop gems like you did today, and just give advice and just motivate them to go forward and not look back.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate you for doing that today.
I appreciate you for creating space for me to do so.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.